There is a new Six Nations documentary coming your way on Netflix, which, if you're subscribed to this channel or if you've clicked on this video and you're watching a rugby YouTube channel, you'll already be aware of, because there's been a lot of talk about this amongst fans. It's very exciting, and for work I was let loose on the red carpet on Monday at the premiere in central London, just off Hyde Park at Marble Arch, where I watched the first episode and spoke to a few different players about the series and looking ahead to the Six Nations. So I thought in this video I'd just show you a few of those little interviews, a few little clips, and talk about a few different bits and bobs. I can't say too much about the documentary. I'm excited for it to come out. I'm intrigued to see what the reception is, both amongst rugby fans and amongst more casual viewers as well, because, and as I talked to a number of players in this video, it's a really important thing for the sport. But welcome back to the channel. Do subscribe if you haven't already, like the video, all that jazz, and drop a comment down below. You looking forward to the Netflix documentary? What do you make of it, and how important is it for the sport of rugby union? We're going to hear from Finn Russell, Marcus Smith and Seb Negri with my little chats that I had with them on Monday night. But before that, just to take you behind the curtain at these sort of things, this is the first time I've ever done a sort of red carpet event like this, and it is honestly chaos in the background. Like, it's so squished. You get maybe a question, like max I think was 3 questions I got with anyone that I was able to speak to. There's loads of media there looking to speak to the different people coming down. So it was a little bit hectic. Makes it quite hard as well to get good content. So I've edited stuff down for the bits that I think are probably going to be most interesting to you. And I want to start off with Finn Russell. He is one of the stars of the first episode. He features heavily in it. There's a big focus on Scotland, and he is blockbuster and entertaining, as you know, we know he is in terms of his personality and what he brings to the game. Massive character in the sport. So yeah, first up, here is the Scotland fly half, the maestro that is Finn Russell.
Good to see you, Finn. Rugby doesn't get too many red carpet events. How big could this be, and this sort of thing with a documentary on Netflix, be for the sport?
I think it's going to be really good for the sport. I think, you know, I've watched Drive to Survive in the past, and I think you feel like you get to know the drivers themselves, and you have not a relationship, but you understand what they're kind of going through when it comes to races. So I'd like to think this documentary, this series, will be able to show what us the players are like off the pitch, but also on it, and what the highs, the lows, what pressures are in this tournament, and therefore it should give fans and viewers a different way to watch it. They'll probably understand what we're going through, and that'll allow them to have more of an interest in rugby.
And as for yourself, start of this season, brilliant start to the season with Bath. Do you feel you're playing the best rugby of your career at the moment?
I'm getting there. I'm still I'm playing decent enough. I think it's slightly different here in England than it is to France's style of rugby, which is, again, it's different, but it's a good challenge for me to have that. I'm not sure it's my best, it's not my worst, so I'm getting there. It's always a work in progress, so we're getting the results, which is the main thing.
And looking ahead to the Six Nations, how important a tournament is that for Scotland to really try and kick on and be genuine title contenders?
Yeah, I think that's the goal for us. It has been for the last, 7 or 8 years. As long as I've been there, the goal is always to win it, as it is for every team. You know, we got off to a good start last year. We didn't manage to back it up, and the World Cup we had there was a bit disappointing. You know, so we've got a lot to prove from that World Cup, and we've got to be able to bounce back after a disappointing World Cup to hopefully be title contenders in this Six Nations. But it's not an easy challenge. You know, there's 5 other great teams there. So it's not as easy as just winning a couple of games. You know, you've got to back it up for 7 weeks in a row, pretty much. Although it's only 5 games, it's a 7-week competition, and a lot of it's about momentum, so you've got to go off to a quick start and be able to just last, I suppose, after that, and just keep progressing every week. So it's always great fun, but it's always a very tough challenge to win it.
It's interesting with Scotland, isn't it? I did a video on the channel earlier this week about their Six Nations squad and where they are as a team, and we've been saying for the last couple of years, are Scotland able to kick on? That's why I asked Finn Russell there, and genuinely be title contenders. We always expect them to be, and they're never quite able to put themselves in a position where it ever particularly looks like they're going to win the tournament. That's another big question coming into this year. I think it's going to be an uphill battle for them. When you look at their squad, as good as it is, as good as someone like Finn Russell is, you still feel like it's a little bit light in some areas, but you never knew. Sometimes Six Nations after a World Cup can be funny. So we'll see what happens, but it was good to chat to Finn Russell. He was on good form. In fact, they did a Q&A at the premiere after we'd all watched the first episode where him and Ellis Genge were up on stage. Both guys came across brilliantly, but Finn Russell he was incredibly entertaining. But next up as well, I spoke to Seb Negri, the Italian player. He was there. Him and Stephen Varney were both there. It was Seb that I was able to grab a couple of minutes with, speak about Italy, speak about the documentary. So here he is.
Seb, this is all quite exciting. How do you feel looking ahead?
It's a bit of a movie star. It's a bit surreal, but really, really awesome for the game of rugby. I think it'll be really good to sort of shed light on what we go through as athletes and give people an idea of what we like off the field. Obviously, people judge you on when you're inside the four white lines, but it'll be good to give them a little insight to what we like off the field.
What was it like? What was your involvement when the series was being filmed?
Well, just cameras in your face, following us around all the time. I think we gave them full access, so. But I think it was really good. I mean, we built relationships with all the Netflix people, which was awesome. Still keep in touch with them. They got to know me. They got to know my fiance, some of my family. So it was pretty special, and they were very respectful. And as much as they had full access, they gave us our own space, which was good.
And looking ahead to the Six Nations starting next month, how big a championship is that for Italy, particularly after maybe the disappointment of the World Cup?
Yeah, I think it's we let ourselves down in the last sort of 2 games of the World Cup, so really eager to put that right and bounce back strongly. It's always going to be tough. We don't have an easy start against England. Really good team, physical, really good set piece, so we're going to have to be at our best. But hopefully we can prove the doubters wrong and get some results and just showcase again to people why we deserve to be in the Six Nations.
Thanks a lot. Thanks for your time. Thanks, Max.
It's tough for Italy, isn't it? Last year was a disappointment. The Six Nations before, they had that great win in Cardiff against Wales. They had some notable results in terms of beating Australia, but when it came to the World Cup, it all ended pretty weirdly. You just got the impression it wasn't a happy camp. I don't know if that was the case or not. So hopefully this Six Nations is a time where they can get back to being the competitive team that we know they can be. They're always going to be up against it in terms of their player pool, the resources, the standing of rugby in that country. But hopefully they can give a couple of teams a scare or two, maybe even get themselves a win in there as well. Wales possibly, not in a great place at the moment. So we'll wait and see. Now time for England. I spoke to Ellis Genge, but actually everything I asked Genge would be irrelevant by now because I asked him about the captaincy that we now know is Jamie George, and he said that he was fit and hopefully ready for the start of the Six Nations, which has been pretty widely reported anyway. In fact, when Genge came, it was so late in the day that they were all there just like, you've got one question, that's it. So I won't play you that. I will play you a quick snippet of Marcus Smith, though. He is a young guy who always gets a lot of attention. He's one of the stars of the sport in England. And when we talk about rugby and it needing to embrace the individual more, rather than it being such a focus on the team, promote the individuals, promote the stars of the sport, Marcus Smith, from an English point of view, certainly is one of those guys. And he gave me his thoughts on the importance of this documentary for the sport of rugby union.
I think for the first time for it to be shown to a global audience is going to be special. I don't think they've done a deep dive into rugby like this, especially the Six Nations, which is such a historic tournament. It's going to be a special night. Hopefully we all come across well, and hopefully for the sport, more importantly, it excites the younger audience to come involved and get involved, join local rugby clubs, because it's a special sport. It's a sport that's changed my life, and I'm sure it can change many more lives.
So there you have it, a few different bits and bobs from the premiere. As I say, it was all a little bit mental. You could see there how I was at the front asking a few questions. There were genuinely times where I would finish asking a question and I'd have to almost retreat to allow someone else to come to the front to ask a question. So that just gives you a little bit of an insight into the chaos that was there. Hopefully some of the stuff that we managed to get with the boys in front of camera was good work. It was good fun. I will talk more on the documentary once it's actually out, once the series is out there, released on Netflix, 24th of January, so just before the start of the Six Nations. And then that will give us a bit more time to digest it, review it, talk about all the good stuff in it, and there's going to be a lot of good stuff. That's undoubtedly going to be true. Maybe some of the frustrations as well, but I don't know if I will have any frustrations. We'll wait and see. So drop a comment down below. Let me know what you make of it. If you've seen the trailers, and how rugby needs to capitalise on this. I suppose when I say that, I look at the Premiership, and they had their kind of mini-series, I suppose, wasn't it, on Amazon Prime, which came out, got a little bit lost in the coverage of the World Cup, really. It came out before the start of the new season, whilst the World Cup was going on. That hasn't been renewed because not enough people watched it. Now, obviously, there's a big difference between a domestic competition and international rugby, which always gets a lot more eyeballs. I hope, and I think it's really important, that for the sport, this documentary is a success. But we'll wait and see. Appreciate you watching the video. Like it, subscribe, all that jazz. Comment down below. I'll see you in the next one.